I'm Lisa Lloyd with the CBC News at noon. Economist Jeremy Stephen has described the International Monetary Fund's recent assessment that the Barbados economy has turned the corner as cautious optimism. He says a slight improvement in the deficit situation, gains from tourism and the reduction in unemployment were indeed good news for the economy, but trouble areas still remain.
There is a reason to celebrate on one front, but the IMF does not differ in terms of their final analysis from what Moody's and I'm quite sure other credit rating agencies are seeing with our economy. If you remember, the Moody's as a credit rating agency did say that they did not expect much growth. Again, from the IMF point of view, a 1.5% increase in output or even slightly more falls within what we call a margin of error, meaning that there is a likelihood that it will grow by that amount, but it might be just as likely that it might not grow, the economy that is, or even retrench, God forbid.
Mr. Stephen adds that Moody's assessment is therefore not very far off from that of the IMF, since debt was one of the major concerns of both institutions.
They aren't being very different from what the IMF has proclaimed, because the IMF did say that there are some things that they haven't been quite proud about with respect to our economy. So yes, unemployment fell and GDP went up a bit on the backs of an improved performance in tourism and some construction projects, but the IMF wonders about the sustainability of said projects, number one, and number two, the sustainability of the debt the government is taking in.
Well, senior probation officer says there has been an increase in the number of children that department is seeing, but in many cases they're being referred through the courts. Eleanor Rice Watkins, community service officer at the probation department, cannot say just how many new cases are coming into the department, but she says that the number is indeed growing.
I think a lot of parents are in denial, so maybe they don't want to come and bring the children, but children are given to the probation department through the court. And there would be an increase. There is an increase. I do not know personally the specific numbers. That's right, but I know there has been an increase, and I am the facilitator from the probation department at Edna Nichols Center, and children are sent there. On Tuesday when I attended, there were 17 children. They're out of school for 2 weeks.
Ms. Rice Watkins says parents need to take a stronger hand in guiding their children.
I keep saying to the children, it's not only about you, it's about your parent. It's your parent. Your parents are allowing you to go to sleep at 11 and 12. How can you function in school when you go to sleep at these hours? So I think a lot of it has to do with parenting, and I believe that Paradise should and can step up and encourage people to come to them, however they go about it.
Ms. Rice was speaking on Morning Barbados this morning about the probation department's upcoming celebration. She says that department plans to start a scholarship fund, the aim of which is to pay for part of the studies of clients who show interest in continuing their education. There are also plans for a service at the Bank Hall Nazarene Church on Sunday, an exhibition in Hero Square next Friday, and a lecture series, the details of which will be announced at a later date. Well, coordinator of the Chinese Confucius Institute believes local medical practitioners may better combat non-communicable diseases if they adopt the traditional practice of Chinese medicine. Francois Jackman says it is also a way Barbados and China can further strengthen their relations.
There are elements of traditional Chinese medicine which are generally agreed have truly important benefits. We're struggling here in Barbados with things like chronic non-communicable diseases. We can see where the traditional Chinese medicine practices about health, nutrition can benefit us here.
He was speaking after an award ceremony for students who took part in the Chinese Art and History Learning program held at the University of the West Indies CAFL campus. The second and first place winners will get a chance to travel to China to participate in the Chinese Bridge Proficiency Competition, where they will compete among other countries. Meantime, China's ambassador to Barbados, Wang Ke, is asking for more Barbadians to learn Mandarin.
With Chinese and Barbados developed the very strong relations. There is some more enthusiasm of the Barbadian people to know more about China through learning Chinese. So I think that the Confucius Institute in this campus plays a very critical role in, helping people learn Chinese, to experience culture, and then they will get their much more interest to engage with China.
Well, meantime, Barbados needs to change its mindset in relation to languages if it is to become a bilingual society. This comes from local language teacher Andrew Loki. He was speaking in reference to remarks made by Minister of Education Ronald Jones, who said that Spanish programs have not reaped much success over the years.
People always ask themselves, what am I going to get from it? So I would have students come here for lessons with me, and the reality is that, they would be saying to me, I'm doing this here because I need to do it. The school said I have to do it, what the case to be. But they will go to chemistry, they'll go to physics and biology because as far as they're concerned, this is what is going to make me a doctor, and I need this, and this is what is important to me. So languages, first of all, are seen as these secondary things. So for me, the first thing has to happen is that we have to change our mindset about languages.
Mr. Loki also says he would like to see languages taught differently in schools.
We can't teach, or we shouldn't be teaching in whole scale languages in Spanish language in Beijing or in English. The children should be hearing a lot more. My thing is go to the source. You want the children to hear this outside of the class, for example, immerse them. I would like to see a lot more exchange programs happening. I would like to see that, every year, for example, we travel. We went this year for the first time to Panama. I would love to see a lot more of that. I would love to see our schools going in droves.
Well, more Barbadian students are showing keen interest in app development. This from coordinator of the Computer Science Society at the University of the West Indies, Maurice Beckles. He believes Barbados can further excel if students are allowed to put their technological ideas into practice. And he was speaking at an app workshop held at the KFIL campus where students got the opportunity to work with app developers from the United States. Mr. Beckles also says developing apps opens up the way for entrepreneurship.
Students normally would do a lot of programming, but we wanted to get them some hands-on experience with industry professionals in building customer-facing apps and stuff that they can use even after they leave the university to start their own businesses.
Well, Barbados got some much-needed rain last night. Meteorologist Wayne McGarry says as much as an inch fell over the south of the island. He says it was thanks to a combination of factors which caused a trough to move slowly over the island, dumping that inch of rainfall first over Christchurch before it moved inland.
What that rainfall has done is brought us to a monthly total of 59.8 millimeters and about 209.7 millimeters for the year. Now, the 30-year average for the month of May is 58.16 millimeters, so that has actually pushed us over the 30-year average, which is good because we definitely need some rainfall. The farmers have been asking for it, as well as the general public, because outside is just very hot. So that has done us some justice.
Now, the bad news is that the feature that caused those heavy downpours has already passed us.
What we expect is that the moisture will linger, so shower activity is expected, but not as significant as we would have seen overnight, because this activity too was fairly isolated. Barbados experienced this type of activity, and St. Vincent would have experienced this type of activity, but not that much shower activity occurred across the other islands in the island.
Well, we'll have more weather details for you later on in the news, but after the break, regional and international stories. Stay with us.